Hey everybody, a huge news day. So I've taken two subjects that you may not think are tied together, but they are, and I've tied them together. Uh, the first one is that my longtime friend Phil Tagami, once again, and for the last time on this subject, prevailed against the City of Oakland, which has taken the unreasonable and completely ridiculous view that somehow, some way, they can turn a stone into water and come up with a perfect legal argument that defeats the construction of the Oakland bulk and oversized terminal and the hauling of all manner of commodities, including, yes, coal and iron ore, which is dirtier than coal. A lot of people don't know that because Tom Steyer got everybody looking the other way. True story. So, basically, the cliff notes go like this, all right? That the California Supreme Court rejected the City of Oakland's petition at this time an hour ago, but now about, I would say 7 hours ago. It's been that long. Meanwhile, and the petition was basically well, they wanted a trial, a new trial, new hearing, and they wanted the Supreme Court to weigh in on the appellate court's, lower court's decision that Tagami faced a situation where the City of Oakland violated its agreement with the Oakland bulk and oversized terminal, partly owned by California Capital Investor Group, which Phil Tagami is managing partner, and the Insight Terminal Solutions. I'm not happy with that outcome. Not happy that they were looking at paying Phil $8 million in attorney's fees. Oakland sought yet another way out, this time directed by new Oakland Mayor Barbara Lee, picking up the notes that were left behind by Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf. To her credit, frankly, Oakland Mayor Shang Tao was a lot less antagonistic toward Phil than Libby was. Strangely, considering how good a friendship Libby, Phil, and I had for most of the years we've been alive. At any rate, all this comes as the Jimmy Kimmel Show is yanked off the air by Newstar, and the FCC cheers it on, and Trump cheers it on. Now you would say, what do these two actions, have in common? And I would say, first of all, it's important to understand that Phil suffered the weight of, just like Jimmy Kimmel is now going through now, of government blocking illegal activities and basically all manner of actions that spell we want to have power over you so that you don't basically haul or handle coal coming through our community, even though you say it's emissions free, it's just in time, and you have study after study after study that backs your claim they will not pollute the surrounding community. In spite of all that, and in spite of the fact that it was the City of Oakland that found coal for Phil, not Phil, okay? The city didn't, once Tom Steyer came up, who was once coal investor, later presidential candidate, and took his part of his 1.6 billion and literally bought legislation in California trying to force a clean energy ethic. I understand the reason for it. I'm not poo-pooing that. He's right in his objective, but he's wrong in his execution. That's another story. At any rate, he was putting money in the pockets of a number of legislators, including Oakland council members and nonprofits, and getting people who knew that the city had projected coal to be hauled by its partner, Oakland Bulk and Oversized Terminal, as part of this new operational bulk terminal the Port of Oakland has sorely needed for decades, and turned around and said, well, wait a minute, we didn't know. When in point of fact, they did know, and there are documents, development agreements signed with their signature on it, with their names on it, proving they did indeed know. But in spite of that, the city, mostly led sadly by Oakland Mayor and my god sister Libby Schaaf, read the rioting act to Phil, and Libby did do this to Phil in public once. It was very embarrassing and a very awful way to treat a mutual friend that I talked to about with Phil to this day. I mean, folks, you have to understand, folks, the three of us were thick as thieves. We even go out to the Golden Bear, and one day we had worked a long time. This was around the time I was working for the mayor, and we were all walking distance from home. And I think, well, we wound up basically going over to Libby's around the corner. I slept on the floor. Libby slept in her bed. Phil slept over on a couch. Well, I didn't sleep on a sleeping bag. And then I think I woke up at like the next day in dawn, and I walked home because I felt better. And I was just up the block. I mean, that was like, I think, 1997. So my point is, we all go back that far, and there's a lot of history. And but with all that, Libby decided to treat Phil in a way that is less than stellar. So, and tried to basically score points with what she identified as the environmental community in Oakland, and also try to score points with them because they were putting money, a lot of money, into her political campaign. I mean, by the multi-millions. So, what happens basically is that the city violated its many agreements to the tune of, get this, 40 lawyers. You heard me, an army of 40 lawyers have been involved in this. I believe 12 judges, 341 pages of decisions, all of them against the city of Oakland over the years. All right? All of them. The city of Oakland has not won one case. All right? It's just loss after loss after loss after loss. It's like, it's the perfect definition of what it means to be insane. Doing something stupid again and 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 again, and learning absolutely nothing along the way. That's what this is a classic example of. All right? Now, what does Phil have to teach Jimmy Kimmel? Well, Phil used the legal system. Knowing that government was giving him problem, what did Phil do? He sued. And you can see that that's the path that Jimmy Kimmel is going to take. And folks, my prediction is that within the next year or two, he's going to come out a billionaire on this. I mean, just financially sitting pretty more than anything. So if you're worried about Jimmy Kimmel not coming back, this is the 21st century. We're on a digital media platform. That's all it takes. Appointment television is not what it used to be, where people just make time. They make time for it, but now they go to Netflix, or, hey, maybe Jimmy Kimmel will make enough out of this to have his own Netflix challenger. You never know. Or maybe he'll team up with Stephen Colbert, right? And John, John, on the Daily Show, John, and of course there's John Oliver, right? And all these other great comedians, and maybe they'll bring David Letterman back to join them, and maybe they'll have this super comedy network, and maybe they'll join up with South Park. I can see all of these personalities coming together on one very powerful comedy news network or news talk network, something like that, and just basically reshaping the landscape along the way. That is not outside the realm of possibility, folks. Okay. Similarly, Phil is going to collect, I would say, $8 million from Oakland. Then, of course, we have the Kentucky lawsuit, and that's going to be a lot more. But it won't be to Phil; it'll be to Insight Terminal Solutions, who has has Oakland Bulk and Oversized Terminal and California Capital Investment Group as partners, and move forward. It's an interesting place for the city to be. Unfortunately, Barbara Lee should turn around and make nice with Phil as soon as she possibly can, because she's running for re-election next year, and she doesn't want this failure to wash all over her and cause her to lose the election in November of 2026, which could happen. It could happen, okay? It could happen. So I'm going to get off, and then I'm going to go back and talk more about Jimmy Kimmel a little bit later. Subscribe to Zennie62 on YouTube and bookmark ZennieReport.com. That ends this stream.